They say a picture can paint 1,000 words. Well, if that's the case, Ange Postecoglou standing by himself in the center circle, clapping off maybe the 50 Nottingham Forest fans left in the stadium after losing 3-0 to Chelsea. I think that paints closer to 1,000,000. Honestly, Forest have lost 3-0 to Chelsea today at home, and it's now 8 games on the trot as Forest manager that Ange Postecoglou has failed to win. It's the first time in Forest's history, and I think today is probably a result that will see him fired. I would be shocked to see Ange Postecoglou in the Forest dugout another game, especially when you look at Marinakis today in attendance, seemingly disappearing after going down 2-0. I know he's close to Postecoglou, but I can't imagine a man as ruthless in his decisions as Marinakis will see Postecoglou in a job after today. But it's interesting because on paper, 3-0 would make you think this was a very convincing result and performance from Chelsea. But when you actually watch this game, part of me honestly feels a little bit bad for Ange. Now, that's not to say that over 8 games, look, he's been unlucky all 8 of those games, and that's not to say that he deserves to keep his job, because at the end of the day, this is a results business. I'm very harsh with Amram, as you guys know. If Amram went 8 games without a win, oh my goodness, if you guys think I'm harsh now, wow. So it's not to say that Ange deserves massive plaudits for his tenure so far, but in this game in particular, I actually think that Forest were decent for large parts of it. I mean, we're going to take it to the tactics board here, right? Shout out to James Lawrence Alcott. As I always say, this is JLA tactics board. I'm going to leave the link to it in the description below. Forest, as they have been in the last few games, lining up with a 5 at the back and out of possession, this is how they looked. Zinchenko, Murillo, Morato, Milinkovic, and Williams, and a very flat back 5. A midfield 3, very compact of Anderson, Sangare, and Douglas Luiz, and Gibbs White playing up front next to Awoniyi. This is how they lined up out of possession, and they caused Chelsea a lot of problems because Chelsea today went for a similar approach that they did against Liverpool. Now, there were a few differences, the main one being that Moises Caicedo was not available today. I think a few of the South Americans today, coming back late from international duty, were on the bench. And Lavia started today. Now, Achimpong and Chalobah, of course Chalobah coming in for Badiashile, were almost the 2 in charge of build-up, with, of course, Robert Sanchez being that free man as well, too. But Forest did a really good job, I thought, of pressing them from the front. Now, Gibbs White and Awoniyi, as a 2, were very calculated in when they would kind of bite at Achimpong and Chalobah. And Forest's best opportunities in the first half really came from those 2 winning the ball up high. And then Anderson making a run forward, Douglas Luiz putting pressure forward as well too, but these 2 kind of leading the initial press. Now, Chelsea in the Premier League are one of the, in terms of central progression, Chelsea rank amongst the highest in the Premier League. They want to play the ball into these central areas, into their midfielders, into their inverting fullbacks, and get plays started that way. But Forest, again, did a really good job out of possession, almost setting traps in midfield today. This very mobile, very strong midfield 3 of Sangare, Anderson, and Luiz were almost just ready to pounce anytime the ball would kind of land to the feet of Lavia or land into the feet of James, or if they tried getting that ball into the feet of Gusto or Santos. They were really good at pouncing on them, and again, making sure Chelsea couldn't find those passes through the lines into the central players. The solution to this, I think, was to go a bit more wide. Now, as you guys can see, Forest almost have a numerical advantage with these 5 in the central positions, right? Well, obviously ignore Lavia, right? But they almost seem to have a numerical advantage with these 5. Anderson, Sangare, Luiz, Awoniyi, Gibbs White in the middle. They blocked it out. I think the solution here from Chelsea had to be maybe finding the wingers a bit quicker or going direct to them, right? Because while there's a numerical advantage here in the inside for Forest, out here, you're looking at 3v3, and I think Chelsea have enough qualities in these wide areas to punish Forest in these areas. And I don't think they did that nearly enough. Like, look, you would much rather fancy Chelsea building out in these wide positions than you would in this really congested middle. And I think it's something they really struggle. No, it's not just that. That was the game plan, and it's how Forest approached the game. But I think we're clocking with Chelsea as well, too, that they are a side that are very reliant on certain profiles and certain players. Of course they are. And one of those is Caicedo, who, when he came on in the second half, I think made a massive difference in build-up, a massive difference. And I think the second one is this guy right here, Chalobah. Now, last week it was Badiashile. Obviously, when everyone is fit, it's Colwill. Today, it's Chalobah. I think more so than ever in the Premier League, you are seeing how important it is to have a left-footed option on this left-hand side, playing the passes through the channels or playing the passes out wide. If this is Colwill or if this is Badiashile, I think he, if he gets the ball from Achimpong, can play these passes in a lot better than Chalobah can. And when Chalobah's there, you can see a massive difference in possession, in build-up. Chelsea are not as comfortable. So I think today in the first half, Forest had a lot of success. They were very comfortable, I thought, in terms of defending Chelsea. And I think the best chances you could argue kind of fell to them. Gibbs White had a great chance, again, out of basically in the high press, where he has the whole goal to aim at. He aims it too high. There was another one. Anderson finds space again off the press where he tries to cut inside on his favored right and can't get a shot off. There was another one again where Douglas Luiz is almost squaring the ball back in. Gibbs White is waiting at the far post, but Luiz's header is just too heavy. I do think Chelsea did find a bit of success when João Pedro, who was practically man-marked by Morato today, would kind of drop deep here, bring Morato out of possession, and Andre Santos would almost take the space that Pedro left. And the best chances of the first half, I almost felt were long balls into the feet of Santos, or those little chipped balls from Gusto into the feet of Santos to almost get a half shot off. But overall, I think it was a very frustrating half from Chelsea. Now, if we look at Forest in possession, they transitioned really nicely into a 3-4-2-1. Very similar, in fact, to what Amorim is trying to do at Man United. Now, Milinkovic and Murillo, it's so fascinating to see them under Ange compared to under Nuno, who last season under Nuno, they were like your typical 4-4-2 or 4-4-3-3. Milinkovic and Murillo, old-fashioned defenders. But under Ange, when they're on the ball, these guys are playing high and wide. Milinkovic, I've never seen him. He never struck me as a player that would play in these advanced wide positions, but he was. Zinchenko and Williams playing high and wide as practically wingers. Anderson and Sangare almost dictating play from deep. And then it almost became a front three of Douglas Luiz, Gibbs White, and Awoniyi in attack. Now, again, I think Forest found decent success from this. I think the problem with this is it leaves a lot for Anderson to do in build-up, because Sangare is not the kind of player that's going to be getting on the ball and dictating play from deep. I think it leaves a lot for Anderson to do. But also, let's call it what it is, guys. These two are not natural wide men. So there's a lot of times where Gibbs White is here or Luiz is here, and especially Luiz, right? That's difficult for Douglas Luiz to really create much danger in these advanced positions. He'd much rather be picking up the ball here or here. You know what I mean? But when Forest did find success, it ended up being a long ball into the feet of Awoniyi, who was used effectively today as just a target man. Hold up the ball, Gibbs White, be busy around him, and find space, find pockets to almost pick up the ball off his flick-ons. And over the first half, I honestly think Forest would have gone into halftime the happier team. You saw Maresca in the stands. He looked frustrated, and it was shown in the substitutions that they made right from the second half. Caicedo came on, Gittins came on, and Mark Guéhi. Now, I think the Mark Guéhi substitution today, or Guéhi, Mark Guéhi, that's what we're going to go with. Mark Guéhi, I think his substitution today made a world of difference. Now, I've seen a few Chelsea fans online, and Don, who I was with on SDS the other day, say that he wants to see him play more. And I like the substitution because he came on up front. João Pedro came on for Andre Santos, who I was a little surprised about, to be fair. I thought Gusto would be sacrificed. Andre Santos came off, and João Pedro occupied that number 10 position. Now, first and foremost, I think that suits João Pedro a lot, because João Pedro is not really a traditional number 9. He's capable of playing up front, but he's not really going to occupy an entire back four. He's not stretching defenses. He's really tidy. He's very good on the ball, and he can finish chances, but he's not a traditional number 9. Mark Guéhi, comes on, and he can kind of hold up the ball really well. He's really good at flicking on the ball. He's really good. In general, I think he's much more of a natural 9. I'm not saying he's a better player than João Pedro, but I think he suits that role a little better, especially against big center backs like Morato, Murillo, and Milinkovic. And that allowed João Pedro to now play in the pockets, and I think allow him to express himself a whole lot more and express his best attributes. Caicedo came on, like I said, I think he suited Chelsea's build up a whole lot more. But ultimately, guys, what won Chelsea this game today were moments of brilliance, I think, and moments of absolute madness from Forest. I don't think Chelsea were that amazing today. Some Chelsea fans might disagree with me, but I think they were good when they needed to be. I think they picked their moments exceptionally well, and I think Forest just capitulated today. That first goal comes from Pedro Neto picking up the ball on the left, beating a man exceptionally well, and then putting in a delightful cross into the head of Achimpong for him to grab his first Chelsea goal. It's amazing play from Neto. Honestly, that's the kind of play from Pedro Neto I want to see more of. I made a tier list on Chelsea signings recently, and I said that Pedro Neto's time at Chelsea, all things considered, for me has been about a C. And while I can acknowledge that his off-the-ball play is really, really important for how the team wants to play, I think when you spend that amount of money on a wide man in today's game, you are expecting a bit of X factor as well, too. You are expecting someone who can win games for his team. And Pedro Neto did that in that moment. It's something I want to see much more from Pedro Neto. And again, the header from Achimpong, brilliant. But when you take a closer look at that goal, again, Achimpong is just way too open in the box. Murillo has to be closer. Morato has to be closer. You can't be conceding a header like that 5 minutes into the second half. It's almost like everything you talked about at halftime just goes out the window. And what you will find with teams around this part of the table, right, and teams that haven't won a game in 7, now 8, is that when it rains, it pours. Let's call it what it is. When it rains, it pours. The minute these guys face adversity, heads drop, morale kind of drops, the entire stadium almost seems to groan in unison. Ange Postecoglou looks like a ghost on the touchline, and all the good work that Forest put together over 45 minutes is now just out the door. Chelsea picked their moment to score perfectly. They always say that the worst time to concede a goal for a team is right before halftime and right after halftime, and that just felt like a blow to the chest for Nottingham Forest and for Ange Postecoglou. And from there, 2 minutes later, Chelsea get a free kick near the edge of the box. Reece James, I think it was, who just rolls it into the path of Pedro Neto. And let's call it what it is, guys. Matt Sells has to do better there. Matt Sells has to do better there. This is a goalkeeper last year that was one of the best in the league. He was unbelievable in goal for Forest. But today, I think for Chelsea's third goal and for Chelsea's second goal, all eyes have to be on him. He's got to be doing way better in that situation. Let's call it what it is. That's a tame shot from Pedro Neto. He's got to save that. Just like that, one goal turns into 2. Chelsea are now 2-0 up with 40 minutes left to play, and they can now cruise. All of a sudden now, all the pressure is on Forest to take the game to Chelsea. All the pressure now is on Forest to open up Chelsea. So it's really a great display of picking your moments from Chelsea Football Club. And it's a great display as well, too, of Forest in key moments just capitulating and not reacting well to adversity whatsoever. Give them a little bit of credit. 5-10 minutes later, they found some kind of life, right? They brought on Callum Hudson-Odoi. They brought on Igor Thiago. Eventually, Chris Wood comes on, and they're creating more chances. They're pressing Chelsea. Thiago has this one chance inside the box where he's just looking to get a touch, right? He's so close to goal. He's just looking to get a touch, get it on target. He hits the upright. He hits the post, and then it comes out. How close can you get? They had chances today. Elliot Anderson a few times. I love Elliot Anderson. I think he's an amazing player, honestly. He's going to be someone that a lot of big clubs this summer will be after. But in the final third today, there's a few occasions where if he picks his head up, there's a few bodies there for Forest to just feed them. Feed them. And too many loose passes at the edge of the box where no one is there. One time it falls to Sangare. He's dummying it for no one. The groans get louder. Chelsea grab a third right at the end as well, too. It's a very comfortable day out for them at the end. But I think over the full 90 minutes, I feel a little bit bad for Ange Postecoglou today. Again, it's not to say I think Ange Postecoglou should remain as Nottingham Forest manager, because this is a winning business. It's a results-based business, and you cannot go 8 games without a win, especially for a team last year, guys, that were pressing for Champions League football last season. It's a team under Nuno Espirito Santo that knew exactly what they were. And that's not to say they had to keep Nuno. Obviously, things happened. But Ange was not expected to come in and make the team worse. He's expected to at least maintain the level they were at. At least have them competing for Europe. They're the worst team in the league on form. So over the course of his tenure, he should be let go. And I think he will be. But on the basis of today, I feel for him, man. Honestly, some of the chances Forest missed today, or some of the moments where Forest just needed a little bit more quality in the final pass, that's not in Ange's control today. It's not. And it's not like they were peppered today either. It's not like they conceded 6-7 big chances and Chelsea were just all over them. I think today it's a quality that has really let them down and really suited Chelsea, especially Esteval, who came on today, right? And I thought was electric. This is a kid that was rested from the jump today because he was playing for Brazil in midweek. And by the way, for Brazil, he's really turning into a key contributor for them at just 18 years old. But in his display today, I thought he was so bright. He was so dangerous. He continues to impress me more every single game he plays. But I think Chelsea just had a little bit more quality in the big moments today. And I don't think today is the day where I would look at Ange Postecoglou and say, this is why you're not good enough to be a Premier League manager, or this is the problem with Ange Postecoglou. I think that would be a bit of results-based analysis. But over the course of his tenure, 8 games, to not win 1 so far, I think that's a big enough sample size to really raise alarm bells. And if I'm Marinakis, I'm probably looking, even in such a short time, to go a different direction. The problem with Forest, though, is that the name that's on everyone's lips now is Sean Dyche. Sean Dyche is a terrific manager. He has vast experience at keeping teams in this division. But how can you go, and I find it's a big problem with Premier League owners, how can you go from Nuno Espirito Santo to Ange Postecoglou to Sean Dyche? That's one footballing philosophy to a complete 180 footballing philosophy to a complete 180 footballing philosophy. I feel like you've almost gone 360. You're back at where you started in terms of a very reactive manager, a manager who's pragmatic, a manager who wants to defend deep. You went from that to a manager that plays the highest line in the league, a manager that wants to take the game to the opposition, a manager who takes a lot of risks, to now back to where you started. For me, West Ham, their biggest issue is the way they employ managers. They're similar. Man United as well too. And I think Forest are going to be the next victim of this. But if I'm going to talk about Chelsea today, man, I think yet again, like I said earlier, it shows the importance of Moises Caicedo in this team. He's someone that had to rest because he was on international duty. He arrived late. But wow, this team is night and day when he's not there. And it's the little things that he does as well too. We all see the crunching tackles. We saw the goal against Liverpool. But again, it's just the little one-touch flicks that he does, the touches around the corner, the ease that he kind of shows when he's being pressured. He's very press resistant. He can take the ball in one touch, get out of pressure, and then get play going. He is almost like an insurance policy for anyone when they need to just get out of pressure. I think he's a terrific player, and today, more so than ever, really shows what Chelsea are missing when he's not there. I think the Malo Gusto inclusion last week in midfield worked wonders because, as I said last week, he was pretty much just a sacrificial lamb to mark McAllister out of the game. But today, I have to be real, I don't really think he was as needed. I don't think Gusto really served the purpose in today's team like he did last week. So personally, I was a little shocked that Andre Santos was the one to make way for Gusto, but so be it. And the other player I really want to talk about is Garnacho. Now, Garnacho is obviously the new signing for Chelsea. He's had a up and down start to his career. I think he had a great cameo against Brentford. There were other games where I think he's been less than impressive, but today I think kind of sums up my issue with Garnacho. Today, in the first 45 minutes, he's not effective whatsoever. He doesn't impact the game at all. Milinkovic or Nico Williams, whoever's on him, had him on toast the entire game. And it kind of backs up what I've always said about Garnacho. I don't think he's a special talent like Esteval, for example, right? Esteval, you can tell, that's a wonder kid. Garnacho, I don't really see him at the same talent level as these big guys, regardless of what his numbers have been to this point in his career. However, what he is really good at is on the break, I think he's a problem. And I think entering the box and finishing off chances, he's shown a track record of scoring goals. But he's not really great against a set defense where he has to square up his defender and beat him or create a yard of space and make an opportunity happen. I don't really see that being Garnacho's game. And it's why I've always said, I think Garnacho plays his best football coming off the bench in the last 30 minutes against tired legs where he can make an impact. I continue to maintain that point. I think he's better coming off the bench and changing games. At this point in his career, I think there are some games you can start him. Against Liverpool, I thought he was decent enough. But overall, I think for Chelsea fans, if you ask my opinion, it's not a biased opinion. It's not, I'm pissed that he left Man United. I held this opinion when he was at Man United. I think he's a frustrating player, and he's someone that's going to frustrate you even more when he's up against these kinds of teams, starting from the beginning. I don't really see a purpose for Garnacho in this kind of game playing from minute one. Can he be a good player for Chelsea? Yes, he can. Is he going to, I don't know, move mountains for you guys? I have to see it to believe it, to be honest with you. Outside of that, I think Sanchez was decent today. Honestly, made a big save in the second half. Guiu again. Someone in the comments, please let me know how to say this guy's name. I don't like mispronouncing people's names. I think he made a big impact, and I think Maresca's substitutions in the second half overall were really, really good. But I think the big issue for Chelsea today was build-up. They need to do better in-game at adapting to the opposition. It shouldn't take halftime 3 substitutions coming in for, okay, this is how we're going to change the game now. I think they could have done a better job in the first half of reading the situation that they were in, finding the problems that were staring them in the face, and adapting on the move. Now, it's very difficult because Maresca's in the stands today. And it's very difficult when your manager isn't on the touchline, able to convey messages to you on the fly. So to be honest with you, I kind of take that back. When your manager's on the touchline, maybe you do need to have time because then he can kind of get his messages across better. So you know what? I actually take that back. But yeah, at the end of the day, this is a big result for Chelsea. 2 wins on the trot now. And they're going to need them because, look, they're missing their best player now. Cole Palmer's out. Cole Palmer's out for the next 6 weeks. Moises Caicedo not playing today, so it's never going to be pretty. But fair play to them. As for Forest, boy, I don't know where you guys go from here. Sean Dyche ball. Who do they have next? Bournemouth. Porto. Does that say Man United? Aye, Marinakis. Chill. A few more weeks. Mr. Marinakis. Sorry, not Marinakis. Mr. Marinakis, please. I see the good play that Ange is displaying here. I see it. He's cooking. He's cooking something. What is it that mountains are not climbed in one day? Rome wasn't built in a day. This is a process. What did Jim Radcliffe say about Amorim? Jim Radcliffe's a billionaire. Come on. Trust the billionaire over there. He knows what he's doing. Give Ange time. Specifically 3 games. Maybe even 4. I believe in him. At least let him get that Man United game. Seriously. Mr. Marinakis, please. Oh my God. Breaking news. Literally right as I finished recording, I had to go back and record this bit. Ange Postecoglou has just been sacked. Damn, they couldn't even give him 3 more games to coach against United. Damn. Hey, I mean, I guess take everything I said about 8 games, whatever. Ange, you were a good dude, bro. You were a good dude, but 8 games on the trot without a win. You know what's crazy? Ange Postecoglou has been fired twice since Amram took over. And he won a trophy on his head. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. Okay, now, like, share, subscribe. Hit the subscribe button. Guys, we're almost at 100,000 subscribers. Please, get us there. We're going to be doing a live watch-along later today for Bayern versus Dortmund. So, make sure you tune in to YouTube or over on Twitch. Join in. It's going to be a good time. It's going to be a good conversation. I'll do a video after that as well, too. And I'll see you guys very, very soon. Peace.